Hi, my name is Gokul Narayan, and I'm the lead faculty at the Asian School of Cyber Laws. And today we are in conversation with Advocate Soni Singh, who's a partner at VGI Legal Law Firms in Delhi, and is also our lead faculty for the IPR course. Hi, Soni. Thank you for joining us today.
Hi, Gokul.
Soni, today the topic of our discussion is non-traditional trademarks. Now, if you could lead our audience through the concept of non-traditional trademarks, what exactly do you mean? What is what are the various kinds of non-traditional trademarks which are acceptable in India and internationally, and take us through the entire gamut of information that is there in this field, we'd be very obliged. So let's begin with, first of all, understanding what trademarks are very briefly before we dive into non-traditional trademarks.
Yeah, that would be really useful to do. So we are used to the normal marks, which is logos and brands, but what are they? And so a mark can be anything as defined under the Act. It can be a device, brand, heading, label, ticket, etc. So, and you will see that there is something like shape of goods also, packaging, combination of colors or any combination thereof. So these are this is the definition of trademark under the mark under the Trademarks Act.
Okay.
And what would be relevant is to discuss the definition of trademark as well, because for this these marks, non-traditional marks or unconventional trademarks, the discussion of meaning of trademark under the Act becomes very useful. So
Okay.
it is required under the Act that trademarks are capable of being graphically represented. And you will see how some non-traditional marks are not able to fall into category of trademark in India because of this particular requirement under the Act. But others have now made it through, like sound mark,
Okay.
as we go further in the discussion.
So the most
So
important factor about a trademark is the fact that it has to be graphically represented.
yes. For the discussion as regards non-traditional mark, this is a very important requirement which we must
Okay.
understand.
Okay.
So let's proceed with some of the unconventional trademarks that we can discuss during this session.
Yeah.
And so the first one I would like to take up is color. So these are basically unconventional trademarks are sensory marks, something that you feel and you're capable of feeling. It's not really obvious as a device or a logo, but something which is a sense of smell, like taste, smell, sound, color. So all these things. So some of it have now been protected under the Indian trademark. So color specifically. And earlier it was said that singular colors cannot be protected.
Okay. So
So
what is this case about?
this case is about one single color, and as you will see, this color is red, and it's in the sole of Christian Louboutin shoes. So that color has been protected, and this particular case in fact dealt with whether that color is capable of protection as a trademark or not.
Okay. And, and,
And
and I'm presuming that this trademark was granted.
yes, in fact, there was a trademark registration for the word red sole. There
Okay.
was no registration for the color.
Okay.
Incidentally, the defendant was using the trademark red sole and in respect to products. And this is the color itself and the trademark red sole was given protection in this particular case of the Delhi High Court.
All right.
There are other examples of color that you can consider, like orange, the telecom company which was there, and they had a brand which was a depiction in the single orange color.
Yeah, so basically when you're saying graphically represented, you're saying the red color as it can be seen in a graphic image is therefore capable of graphical representation and therefore capable of becoming a trademark?
Yes, yes. So in this, when you file the trademark, you would file the color red tone. And actually there is no registration granted to the color red. So the registration is granted to the mark red sole. But in this case, it was recognized that this particular manner in which the red sole is used, where shoes of Christian Louboutins have a red sole, can be protected as a distinctive trademark.
Okay, all right, okay.
So we can move on to another example of colors. So here the trademark was John Deere, and the specific colors that they use is yellow and green. And the defendants started using some sort of similar machines or harvesters, and he used a trademark which was completely different, but he used the color scheme which was green and yellow in their products.
Okay.
And that was also restrained. So as you will see, the John Deere's trademarks, like they specifically use the trademark in this Deere logo that they have. They have these green and yellow colors, and even in their products, they use these two colors very, very prominently, and they were able to get protection for these colors as being distinctive of their products, and was not permitted to be used for similar products by the defendant.
So was the problem the usage of the green and yellow, the shades of green and yellow as protected by John Deere, or was it the use of the color in a similar category of trademarks?
I think the colors are important, but in this case, the category of
the class of registration would also matter.
Yes, it would also matter, because one has to, and towards the conclusion, we will discuss that apart from graphical representation, there is another important element that should be present in sensory trademarks for them to be protected, and that is the acquiring of a secondary meaning or factual distinctiveness. So that would be a very important thing. So
could you explain that for our audience, please? In the case of the Deere company case, the John Deere case?
Yes. So if you have used a particular trademark in respect of certain things for a very long time, so even if suppose the trademark, like descriptive trademarks, so even if descriptive trademarks are not capable of protection on their own, but if you have used them for a long time and you are able to show that through such use, the mark has acquired distinctiveness, so much so that it is identified with your product only, then you are said to have acquired a secondary meaning or a factual distinctiveness. So in sensory marks, this is an important requirement.
Okay, all right. Yeah, that makes sense.
So shall we move on to the next?
Yeah.
So as you can see, the next one we are going to discuss is shape. And if you go, if you remember the meaning of the trademark when it was of a mark, it was specifically including shape. So this is shapes have been included in the 1999 mark. In the amendment of the Trademarks Act in 1999. So this is a new thing that was allowed, and Zippo had obtained a registration, and these square drawings that you see, so they obtained a registration for these drawings as being their shape, the shape of their lighter.
Okay.
So when similar products were made with similar shape and the court did restrain it in this particular case of Zippo Manufacturing versus Anil Mulchandani. And Zippo
Again stating the fact that even if the word Zippo is not written on that shape, the shape itself has acquired distinctiveness enough to be identified only with Zippo.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
This particular shape and this particular manner of.
So the image that you see on the right. I'm sorry. The image that you see on the right hand side is the image. It looks like a drawing kind of an image. That is the image that was filed by Zippo at the trademark office, and that is the part of the registration submission that was made, and that was what the registration was given for.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay. All right. All right.
So moving on to the next one. This is a motion trademark. I wonder why it's not moving. But if you remember the Nokia ad where two hands come together and they then clasp like this, as you see it in the screen right now. So there are trademarks filed where there's a series of drawings with the hands moving towards each other, and it has been filed, and it is the first example or one of the important examples of a motion trademark.
So Nokia's logo below that is a separate trademark. Connecting people is a separate tagline to the trademark. The motion of the two hands moving together, you're saying, got a separate trademark registration in itself.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Okay.
And that is another very important example of non-traditional trademark. So it was because graphical representation does limit it. So how do you represent this? So then people realize that you can do it maybe in a series of representations, and the coming of the hands together, what has been shown in a series of drawings, and it has been registered. And this is to cover the motion trademark of Nokia, where the hands come together.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So there are various sound marks, and I'm sorry I could not get all those sounds for you, but I'm sure.
Yeah, but these are sounds which most people will be very familiar with. The Nokia sound people will know. I just don't remember the Tarzan, the yell, but the rest of them, that Britannia ting 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 is what I presume the sound is, and Yahoo is that Yodel Yahoo, something like that. And the Nokia one is the Nokia one is the one that was there in the previous slide also. Correct. So each and every one of these, I'm presuming, are also capable of being represented in musical notations and therefore graphically represented and therefore capable of registration?
Yes. So earlier there was no provision, and they were sound marks were considered as non-registrable. But then when it was realized that it can be represented through graphical notations or through sound notations, they started to be allowed. So you will note that in Europe, at one point, the Tarzan yell was not allowed to be registered because the European Trademark Office was like, how do you represent it in graphical notations? And they are also very strict about it. It's US, which does not have the limitation of graphical representations. So their non-traditional trademarks are more easily registered. But Europe had the same problem. But now with sound notations, if the mark can be represented in terms of sound notations, then they can be registered. And in the Trademarks Act of India, while in the main act sound is not written, in the rules it is provided that you can apply for a sound mark and you can file the audio through a disc or something like that. So along with the notations, the disc would also have to be provided.
Okay, all right. So that the individuals who are scrutinizing the trademark application can actually listen to the sound of that they're registering, as well as the musical notations which have been put in a graphical form and submitted on paper.
Yes.
Okay.
So image trademarks, and one would imagine that image is obviously a very is always allowed, but they're not very common. Like you don't really go for some important buildings, and you will see Taj is important because this is the first image trademark that has been obtained in India.
Okay.
Internationally, it has been done. So Eiffel, not only Eiffel the word, but Eiffel the image is also registered. Similarly, the Empire State Building of New York has registered the name as well as the image. So the benefit is that so Eiffel, you will say, oh, so many postcards and photographs are taken, and can you not take photographs of these important buildings just because they are trademarks? No, it's not like that. Trademark has to be used in for some goods, selling some goods or services. So as long as you are not doing that, you can definitely photograph the image.
Okay. One would presume that um, uh, other important buildings which are non-historical in nature would also be capable of being would also be capable of being registered as image marks.
Yes, but they will have to establish factual distinctiveness.
Okay. No. So the problem would be my confusion comes because I think the Taj Mumbai, which is the hotel which is in front of us right now, is a hotel which has been also protected by the ASI as a historical site, if I'm not wrong.
Yes.
So then, what stops people from the and who's made the application for the Taj image mark?
It's
Do you
Indian
have any idea?
Hotels. It's the owner
ITT.
of the Taj Hotels. Yes, Indian Hotels Private Limited, I think.
Okay, so then wouldn't the ASI be able to file a trademark for the Taj Mahal as well? But depending upon, actually, the question is who's the owner of the Taj, and I'm presuming
the owner of the Taj is Indian Hotels, and they have filed the image mark.
No.
It is
I don't
just
mean
recognized as an ASI or an important building, but that
correct.
doesn't give them rights to the image of or the architecture of the building.
Correct. No, Sony, I was actually referring to the original Taj Mahal in itself, which is a historical site.
Yes. Yes. So that is why Taj word is not registered here. It's the image. It's the image of the building.
Okay. All right.
Yes. So, in the case of Eiffel or in this case of Empire State Building that I discussed, even the names are registered. But here Taj Mahal is not registered. Here the image is registered. It's not Taj Mahal Hotel. The hotel name is Indian Hotels, and this particular image that I have extracted is from the registration that has been granted. So the image exactly protected is before you on the screen.
Okay, so this exact image has been submitted before the trademark office, and this is what is protected. Okay. Now it makes more sense. All right, thank you.
Yes.
Thanks for that clarification.
So multimedia marks, you would say that even the Nokia mark that we discussed earlier is a multimedia mark also, but it's not multimedia because it's only motion. Here, only the drawings of the two hands coming together have been protected. Novagraph is a European IP law firm, and they have protected their name. And there is a motion in this. I have not been able to extract the video here, but it is a moving image with sound in the background. And the entire gamut has been filed for registration, and it seems it has been granted registration. It was filed for registration on March 1, 2019, when Benelux laws were changed and they were able to file applications for unconventional trademarks. So the entire multimedia, because it has motion, it has sound, and the whole gamut has been filed as a trademark.
Okay, so not
like a Microsoft image, the Windows which is moving.
Yeah.
and with a sound in the background. Or maybe if you remember the Doordarshan thing, which was two half circles, they were moving and there was a particular sound. I would imagine that Doordarshan could file a multimedia trademark for that particular one.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, so now let's smell and taste. So far in India, you cannot, obviously, because of the difficulties. First of all, the limitation of graphical representation, you won't be able to do it. And
But wouldn't you be, by that stretch of imagination, I'm presuming that, for example, if there's a perfume which needs to register itself as a smell mark, wouldn't the chemical composition of the perfume be representable in a in the form of a chemical formula, thereby fulfill the criteria of graphical representation? Just like the notes of of a tone in the sound mark.
very interesting, but that has not been really examined, and there is no smell mark registration so far. So they have not been, you are saying in the form of chemical formulas and
Correct.
chemistry formulas that you have for representing the kind of chemical components that are there in
Correct.
the product.
Correct.
So yes, maybe that is a way, and maybe that someone needs to discover that. But as of now, it's not registrable, and nobody has done it in India.
Yeah,
and
because I can understand taste would be really difficult, because they can, at best you can describe a taste, but that taste description cannot be remotely as accurate as the notation in a sound. So I can understand why taste would be a little difficult to register.
Also with smell and taste, Gokul, the important thing becomes is how do you do journal advertisements? How do you do that? How do you ask the registrar to examine him, send him a sample of the product, and how do you make sure the smell each time is same? So all
Correct.
these are the problem.
I understand that, Soni, because but we are I am looking at the question more so from the point of view of a customer who's gotten used to, or a client who's gotten used to a particular product. So, for example, the Davidoff Cool Water perfume, it's got a very distinctive smell, and it's unlike anything else available in the market. So I know as soon as I smell it, it might be, I don't need to be told every time that it's a Davidoff Cool Water smell. I know that that's exactly what it is. Now, as far as the customer is concerned, it has acquired distinctiveness. Now, this is a limitation in the law, that it is not able to provide protection to something that has acquired distinctiveness through a period of use. I am saying that if we are able to bring it down into a chemical formula notation, wouldn't that theoretically suffice the need of graphically representing the content, and thereby be capable of registration? It is just an inquisitive question.
I think sounds like a very logical solution to the problem, but it has not been tried so far, and I wonder why, because it seems like, and because all IP practitioners are also patent practitioners, and they do understand that this can be done, but I think the Trademarks Office doesn't recognize it so far, and it has not been done in India. But maybe with time, this will be possible. Either the requirement of graphical representation will be taken away to be able to allow these marks, or one will find a way of graphically representing, as you are suggesting, because you can see that some of the examples listed on the screen are of UK and US, where there have been smell marks which are granted. You will, though you will note that something like a channel number 5 was not granted registration, because it was said to be a very common and smell of a particular flower or something. So you really can't take it away and have a monopoly over it, and therefore it was not permitted.
See, I can understand something like a Chanel, therefore getting into trouble with respect to registration, because of the generic common natured smell that is, or the perfume that is, because it's not distinctive enough. Then I can understand
Yes,
that
like
part.
some perfume tried to cover the smell of cutting of of fresh grass. So yes, these were not permitted.
I think the cutting of the fresh grass one was the one with Costco, the tennis ball manufacturing company. I think that those were the ones who tried to do the tennis ball thing, freshly cut
There
grass.
is one in Australia which is protected for brand of that's a eucalyptus scented golf tee.
Yeah, I think the Costco one
Which
was
is
the one.
actually protected.
Yeah, I think the Costco one was the attempt to protect a tennis ball with the smell of freshly cut grass. That, as far as I can
I can
remember.
check that.
Yeah.
So these are some of the other marks. One was Oh So Easy in the US, and there was thread, and the yarn had a particular smell. This has since lapsed and it has not been continued. But then there's a UK example that I've given of Sumitomo rubber having a floral fragrance or smell of. So it was rubber. You don't really identify tires having floral fragrance, and therefore I think it was granted.
Okay.
So what is the difference between these traditional? Why are they non-traditional? Because they are sensory. They are more about feeling. They are not capable. They are not immediately. They don't seem to be capable of graphical representation. But one has figured out ways of a lot of marks. So now we can protect sound marks and motion marks and 3D marks, shape marks in India. But there are still these marks such as smell and taste, which have not been protected in India. And two important things that one must remember is when you are trying to protect a mark which is non-traditional, is that not only graphical representation, but also that it has acquired some distinctiveness in favor of the applicant.
Okay. So not just the fact that it's capable of graphical representation, but an equally important part would be the acquired distinctiveness. So does that mean that the likelihood of an unconventional mark, which is fresh off the boat, a company comes up with something unique, fresh off the boat, does not have any prior existence, and therefore is not able to establish factual or acquired distinctiveness, would find it more difficult to get the mark registered?
It is quite possible. Like, so but then if we see this example of the tires having smell of roses, I think even if it doesn't have an acquired distinctiveness, it can be said to be very distinctive, because usually vehicle tires do not have floral fragrance. So that may be able to get protection without secondary meaning. But in most cases, you will require a factual or acquired distinctiveness, because otherwise it's very difficult to be able to protect the trademark without such factual distinctiveness.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So I guess
Particularly
that
examples of color, something like colors and shape.
Okay. So Sony, I guess that's the end of our slideshow. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So thank you so much for this discussion, Sony. Again, as usual, I'm going to ask our audience to go through our presentation. And in case you have any questions, feel free to write into us and ask us questions. We are very excited to listen to your comments, which have been coming in pretty regularly in the other videos. So thank you so much for sharing your points of view with us, and keep writing into us, and we'd love to hear from you, and we'll respond to any queries that you have. So thank you so much, Sony, for joining us today, and hope to see you soon in a new discussion all over again.
Thank you, Gokul. Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Okay. Bye-bye. Thanks.
Bye.